S. Chan presents educational video lectures as per the AICTE curriculum. Difficult concepts made easy. Study anywhere, anytime.
Hello students, do you know why we need to understand the relevance of creating an impact through oral communication? So oral communication is a part of our verbal communication, and of course there are certain elements which are important, and there are certain important technicalities which we need to know when we are trying to communicate orally to our receivers. So let us discuss in detail about oral communication and other nuances of oral communication. Welcome to S. Chand Academy. I am Dr. Vidushi Bhardwaj. So, if you want to explore further into oral communication, please refer to the book by Vikas Publications. Link of the book is given in the description box. So, oral communication, that too, speaking English effectively. When you talk about workplace situations, success at workplace, professional success, we all talk about the fact that we need to communicate effectively and speak effectively in a language which is called English. So we are all the English. We are not the experts, but we speak English as a second language. So we have a mother tongue of our own, and when we try to converse in a language which is second language to us, there are certain challenges we face, right? But then if we take care of certain things, of course, we are going to tackle those challenges as well. So what do you mean by oral communication? We all know English is an established medium of communication globally. When we have to communicate with others on a global platform, it is a lingua franca which connects people together globally. So in India also, it is a link language within the country and the language of the business. It's a language of the business. So if we are communicating to people in the south or probably northeast, sitting in Delhi or in the north of the country, if we know this language well, we will be able to communicate effectively. So every language has a speech rhythm and stress pattern, which is intonation. And of course, when a speaker switches from his mother tongue to a second language, there is something which is known as the MTI, which is the mother tongue influence, which we find, at times becomes a hindrance for others to understand what we are trying to convey. So this mother tongue influence can also be tackled very well by way of practice. But yes, these variations in speech patterns have to be ironed out if one desires to speak English as a second language. And even if it is not ironed out completely, at least we can achieve some mastery over the language when we are trying to communicate effectively in English. And phonetics is the study of speech sounds of a particular language, which is again a very technical area. We are not going to delve deeper into it, but we are going to talk about certain important things in terms of phonetics and pronunciation in English. So moving ahead, there is something which is known as accent. So every English has a different accent. So we have British accent, we have American accent, we have Indian accent. So accent, basically, what does it mean? It's a manner of pronunciation peculiar to a particular individual, location or nation. So when I am an Indian, my way of speaking English is Indian. So we say it's Indian English, and it's an Indian accent, which is perfectly okay. So I, sitting here in Delhi or probably in India, need not copy American accent or British accent for that matter. So whatever my accent is, that will be fine. But we do not understand this at times. We try to imitate other accents. We try to copy other accents, which is not a good idea. There are certain companies, which hire employees, especially the American companies from India. So even they do not expect you to speak American English. They would expect you to speak accurate English, and that is the reason why they have devised certain ways to check your English, your communication through the tests or the exams they give to you, but they do not expect that you speak in American English. So what do I want to say here is that whatever your accent is, that's perfectly acceptable. but I need to make sure that I need to create an impact on the listener. So my accent will not decide the impact I am trying to create through my language, but it is the correctness, which will matter there. Then comes the pitch or the loudness. So pitch, as we all know, as the name suggests, is to do with the high pitch or the low pitch. It's a property that allows the ordering of sounds on a frequency related scale. So when we say you have a very high pitch, okay, lower down your pitch, that would sound that of course you are trying to be aggressive. And if you have a real, low pitch, it may give an impression that you are really sad, or maybe you are dull, you are underconfident at times. That will also be an impression which you may, give that if you have a low pitch. So for example, if there is a word like thank you, so I can say thank you and I can say thank you. So look at my pitch. My first pitch shows that I'm really thankful, I'm really happy. Thank you. Thank you. So the second pitch shows low pitch. So that means that I am just trying to, complete the formality of thanking somebody, but I am not making sure that I am really excited and I'm really happy for the things done for me, and I'm trying to show my gratitude towards somebody. So your pitch helps you avoid being monotonous. Variety of pitches should be used to hold the listener's attention. So my pitch will tell the listener that whether I'm excited, or I'm really happy, or I'm really dull with my idea. So if I'm really excited, joyous, ecstatic, triumphant, or even angry, my pitch will automatically become high. A well-balanced pitch results in a clear and effective tone. But yes, a variety of pitches should be used to hold or to grab the listener's attention, and it can be achieved by practice. So it's something which is a great art, but of course, if practiced well, you can achieve that. Now, what do you mean by rhythm? As the name suggests, rhythm means music. English language is highly rhythmical, no other language is rhythmical as English is. So how do we produce music or rhythm in English language is certainly because of the stressed and unstressed words together. So when I say rhythm, it means the pattern of sounds. Maintaining rhythm in a speech makes the speech sound natural and fluent. Now, how does a rhythm, how is it produced in language? So when I say, for example, if I say, what are you going to do? And I say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So if I say, are you going to do? This A-R-E becomes unstressed. But if I say, what are you going to do? I sound like a robot. So these unstressed syllables together, along with the stressed syllables, some of the stressed ones in the sentence, will produce a kind of a rhythm or music in my language, which will create a great impact amongst the listener. So same is the case with if I say, good morning students, good morning students, good morning students, good morning students, emphasizing each and every word. So each word is stressed here. While if I say, good morning students, morning. So when we try to club the unstressed syllables faster, it becomes rhythmical, musical, and automatically creates a good impression and impact amongst the listener. Then we have the intonation. Intonation is to do with the tone, and when we say intonation, it is a pattern of pitch variation or the tones it uses in the utterances. We already discussed about the pitch, we discussed about the rhythm, but yes, when we talk about the tone or the intonation, it is very closely linked to stress. So when you stress on one particular area or one particular word in a sentence, we tend to change the tone of a sentence altogether. There are majorly 4 tones which we talk about, especially in English. So what are the benefits, first of all, to understand the intonation, and what are the functions of intonation we should know? The first one is We can distinguish different types of statements, commands, requests and questions when we are reading a sentence and we know the tone of a sentence. We can differentiate the speaker's emotional attitudes. For example, if he is curious or apprehensive or friendly or polite. And then we can draw the listener's attention to these segments of an utterance that one considers important. So basically, intonation is all about how the voice rises and falls in a speech, right? So there are four major kinds of intonation. First is falling, then rising, falling, rising, and rising, falling intonation. So when I say falling intonation, that would show that my tone is assertive most of the times. So I'll give an example. If I say, I think we are completely lost. So when I say, I think I'm completely lost, I'm showing I'm very assertive. And if I say rising, are you thirsty? The answer has to be either yes or no. When I say, would you like another coffee? Coffee. So it shows fall rise, a kind of a polite invitation. And if I say, oh, really? It's a sarcasm. So there are, different ways of showing what is in my mind through intonation, whether I am speaking in a falling tone or rising tone or falling rising tone or rising falling tone, will tell the listener that what is going on in my mind, what kind of what kind of attitude I have right now in my mind. Now then comes the conversation and dialogues. This approach is professionally adopted for a variety of reasons. Conversation and dialogue, they are very similar to each other. We always say we should always converse with our friends. We should get into a dialogue with our colleagues. Dialogue is more of a professional professional thing, while conversation we converse with our friends also. They are very similar, but that helps you bridge gaps. Dialogue brings people together who would not naturally sit down together, talk about important issues. They may be discussing those issues in the dialogue form. They may be writing down the certain points and then they may be discussing in the form of a dialogue. While conversation, you just converse. That may not be a very pre-planned activity. When you are into conversing, you may be into conversing instantly or spontaneously, while a dialogue, of course, is a kind of a planned activity. But that helps you bridge gaps in your workplace situations, and that helps you achieve success at the workplace if done effectively. Now, there are certain paralinguistic elements or features of voice, or we are going to discuss about the nuances of voice dynamics. What are paralinguistic elements? All those elements which are to do with the voice. So, all non-verbal vocal cues that help you give urgency to your voice. So, your voice is your trademark. You are identified with your voice. People know you because of your voice. It creates an identity that yes, if somebody is speaking, you can identify that XYZ has arrived. So that means if you know the nuances of voice dynamics, you can make your oral presentation very effective or impressive. So in order to control the audience, you have to adopt certain strategies, primarily, in terms of using the language. So what are those things? You should speak a language which is close to the participants. First of all, they should be able to understand your language. It's not that you are speaking in Sanskrit and they do not understand Sanskrit. They should be able to understand English if you're talking to them in English. Clarity is the key word. Writing does not have that immediacy because the words are static on a page. Voice gives extra life to your delivery. Therefore, you may find it useful to understand the nuances of voice dynamics. Now, what are they? Number one, your pronunciation has to be correct. You can check for pronunciation of certain words in the dictionary or even online if you are really doubtful about the pronunciation of certain words, because it happens at times that we write a word in a particular way, but it may pronounce, because English pronunciation is not spelling pronunciation. So we may have certain words like, few rhymes with new, but SEWING is pronounced as sewing machine, not sewing machine. Right? So how do I know that now? If I am pronouncing it as sewing machine and somebody else is pronouncing it as sewing machine, I need to make sure that I check my pronunciation in the dictionary. So by observation, by listening to others, by checking immediately whether what I am pronouncing is correct or not will help me there. Modulation of the voice modulation in terms of, how do I adapt to the situation. For example, whether I have been able to, make it really impressive in terms of, giving the high tone or the low tone, rising tone, falling tone, or probably I have been very loud, the pitch is high. Whether I have been able to modulate the voice or not is very important. So voice modulation is an important element here. Whether I've been able to, frame my voice well in order to sound impressive and convey my idea is important here. What is the rate of speech or the pace I am speaking at? Whether I am being really fast or I am giving some pauses, that's very important to understand. If I am not giving pauses, then of course the meaning may go astray and I may not be able to convey exactly what I'm trying to convey if I'm not giving relevant pauses. So then use of connectives, or of course the conjunctions are important. And voice modulation I have already explained. Still, it means that my voice has to be vibrant, it has to be well modulated. I should not sound very dull, I have to sound very energetic, enthusiastic. Nasalization of the voice has to be avoided, and pauses should be at the right place. So unnecessarily giving pauses everywhere would mean that probably I'm not being very confident. So fluency is important. Unnecessary fillers or using certain words like or o will show again that I am not very confident. So for example, if I say hello, how are you, and if I say hello, how are you, so these are the fillers. So when these fillers are removed, it automatically becomes fluent. So fluency has to be achieved by way of practice and recording your voice. Record your voice, listen to your voice, and check if you are using fillers that can be removed easily. Then what is the ideal rate of speech or words spoken per minute? That is something we should know. Rate is the number of words which you speak per minute. So it varies from person to person, from 80 to 250 words per minute, but the normal rate is 120 words to 150 words. If you are going beyond 250 words or even 150 words per minute, that means you are speaking pretty fast, your rate of speech is high, you are not giving relevant pauses, and that's not going to be a good thing for you as a speaker. So cultivate your pace so as to fit in this reasonable limit, that means 120 to 150 words. If you are speaking too slow, that shows monotonous tone, and you are likely to be considered as a dull speaker. But of course, speaking without pauses again is not a good idea. So a lot of practice has to be given to the rate of speech aspect, which can again be done through language lab activities, lot of exercises through the language lab activities where they emphasize on your LSRW skills, and you can record your voice and listen to your voice and improve your voice modulation. So what are the key takeaways of this presentation today? We discussed about oral communication in detail. We discussed what do you mean by phonetics and pronunciation. Why do we need to understand that, we need to be really impressive in terms of oral communication if we have to make a mark, especially in terms of communicating effectively in English, that too in business situations. We also discussed about the fact that what is an accent. It's okay if we speak in Indian English accent. It's not essential to be speaking in American British accent to impress others. We discussed what is intonation, we discussed what is stress and rhythm, and we discussed what are conversations and dialogues, and that is how we end up with this presentation. So if you want to explore further into oral communication, please refer to the book by Vikas Publications. Link of the book is given in the description box. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe and press the bell icon for future updates. Thank you.
All rights reserved. This video has been prepared for educational purposes only. No part of it may be reproduced or copied without the permission of the copyright holder.